Welcome to Five or Flop, a podcast for the best and worst historical fiction has to offer. I'm your host, Grace.
And I'm Erin, and each week we'll be reading a different historical fiction book to see if they're a five or a flop.
Our theme for season 3 is back to school, and it's coming to an end. This is part 1 of the 2-part finale. We're reading the Royal Diaries.
Sad. Well, it's really good we're reading Royal Diaries, but it's so sad. This has been such a fun season.
I know, and an extremely long season, but because the books are so quick, we have not felt like it was dragging.
And we'll say, so for our 2-part Royal Diaries, it'll be, and we've had a couple where we read multiple books from a series. This will be the same format as Dear America, where we're doing 3 and 3, and we're ranking each book individually. So opposite of Josefina and Magic Tree House.
Yes. So for any older or younger millennial, older Gen Z girls, or mothers of older millennial, younger Gen Z girls.
You know these books.
You know that Royal Diaries actually is part of Dear America.
It's like a spin-off.
Yeah. So Dear America is fictional girls from real historic time periods. Royal Diaries is real life princesses, queens, empresses, royalty, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So we each picked 3 books per episode. This week it was my pick. So we're reading Anacaona, Golden Flower, Eleanor, Crown Jewel of Aquitaine, and Jahanara, Princess of Princesses.
Which, how do I get the title of Princess of Princesses, first of all? Because that was in my notes.
You have to be the favorite daughter of Shah Jahan.
Listen.
And I think you missed the boat on that.
I do think I missed the boat by many centuries.
Yes.
But that's okay. Many centuries and many cultures. But that's okay. What are you up to this week?
Okay, now that it is January, it is a new year, and that means it is gymnastics season.
Hell yeah.
So, Erin, you are participating and doing very well in our fantasy league.
Which, lest we forget, last year, I was the notorious loser of the season, not counting the person who dropped out of the league and scored 0 every week.
Yes. So, it's a new year. You've reset.
Year, new me.
You're doing great. And I'm just enjoying watching again. My family also enjoys gymnastics season because I get ESPN Plus and I give them the password.
Amazing.
So congratulations. I think mostly to my brother. I think he mostly uses that. But yeah, so I am very much enjoying having it back on my TV screen every week.
Well, that is fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't seek it out to watch, but I like coming to the meets with you when I can.
Yes.
Which actually you're going to one coming up, but I can't go to that one. And then I like when I'm over at your house and you have it on in the background.
It's a fun environment.
God, I love your Twitter. I'll be like drunkenly responding to her tweets sometimes and it'll get 10 likes. I'm like, this is amazing. I'm so famous.
The gym Twitter community is a very close-knit community.
You tweeted one thing about LIU and I'm like, God, I wish Sid Morris, which was a gymnast who retired, I wish she was here. And then everyone ate that up.
Yeah, because they all know who Sid Morris is.
But yeah, it's a lot of fun. I'm actually sad I can't go to that meet because it is the day I come back from Rio, which I talked about last week, how we're going to Rio. Mm-hmm. So I'm working on making plans for after that. Santiago is going to be in Colombia for the week, so he's visiting family there. I don't have that kind of PTO. So I will be home, but it's also good. I don't really want to leave my dog for that long anyway.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Our friends are watching her like usual. So then we'll pick her up. So I'm looking for things to do that week. And by looking for things to do, I'm how do I not interact with anyone at all? Which is my usual plan when Santiago's out of town. He's the extrovert in the relationship.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
But I think I'll actually be coming over here to play the new Until Dawn version with Ashley.
Oh.
Which is exciting because they have the alternate endings now. And I know she's been waiting to play because I really want to play with her too.
Oh yeah. I remember that as an activity when I first moved to DC. And met
everyone
you guys.
Thought it was too scary. And it was just me, Santiago, and Ashley who played.
Well, it was kind of scary.
Well, Ashley played and I watched her, which is my favorite thing to do because I love watching video game streams on YouTube. But I don't want to play. I have no interest in playing a video game.
But it's a live action video game stream. Because you can tell Ashley what to do.
I can tell her what to do. Exactly. So I'm really excited for that. And then we also have Ashley's birthday party. Well, it's belated because her birthday is coming up sooner, but her belated birthday party, which will be board games and stuff. So I'm very excited for that.
Yes, we cannot wait to celebrate data scientist Ashley.
Exactly.
And also, it is very good for me that you will be home and Santiago is going to Colombia because A, I can hang out with you while you're home.
That's
and
true.
B, Santiago is buying me shoes.
Oh, yeah. So we order from we order from this very regional shop in the countryside of Colombia where we get these really, really nice handmade leather shoes and they're $8. So Grace is ordering a pair. Santiago was in disbelief that you wanted the cowhide. Well, there are some that have cowhides, and Grace wanted that one. Santiago was disbelief.
See, I get being surprised. However, he knows I'm his ally against all of the random, like, vegans in our lives.
Yeah, that is true.
So he's like, oh, are you sure this is, like, a real cow? And I'm like, I don't care about that. Like, I don't care about the cow.
I was surprised stylistically, but then I thought about it. I'm like, Grace would 100% wear these all the time.
I thought, too, that I was going to get a pair that are, like, a plain black color. But I was like, you know what? Like, why not just go all out?
Exactly. And so they're really nice quality. I'm actually not getting shoes this time, but I am getting a hat with a horse on it, which is really big for me.
I love that.
And it's pale blue. So I'm really... Because the style of shoes I wanted, they didn't have any in the color I wanted. So I'm like, okay, well, this Santiago was like, well, you should get something. And I'm like, well, let me look at the horse hats. And it was a great decision. I'm very excited. Because they have some shoes that are like weird paintings of horses on it.
Yes.
And I'm like, see, I want it, but I will not wear it. So it is very exciting. And he's also bringing me back a bunch of snacks from Colombia. So that's really good for all of us. Now, you are reading a book that I'm quite interested in based on one of my very intense hobbies.
Yes, it is a book by Adrienne Raffel, and it is called Thinking Inside the Box, and it is about crossword puzzles.
And I love crossword puzzles. So whenever I have, because you know how there's time at work when you just can't do anything until someone answers you?
Yes, I also have a very email respondent based job.
When I'm in like a period like that, if I'm waiting for one of my employees to send me something to review, I'm like, okay, I have to do the daily crossword. Washington Post every day.
I was going to say, I'm also newly in a crossword era, specifically because for my birthday, which was semi-recently, I received my own Washington Post subscription.
Oh.
Before, I had access to one, but it was my mom's. So I was not able to consistently do the crossword because obviously she does the crossword.
Yeah.
So now I have my own.
That's awesome. Okay. So what is this book specifically about?
It is kind of one of those, like, history/memoirs.
Okay.
Like, it's mostly history about, like, the development of the crossword puzzle, like the different types of crossword puzzles, like regionally from like different countries. The evolution and popularity of the crossword puzzle is very interesting because it got really big in the 1920s. And so there were all of these articles about like people are wasting all their time like doing the crossword puzzle. When actually
it's really phenomenal, like to help like aging brains and stuff like that. Like it helps prevent like dementia. And
I was going to say it's a great like intellectual exercise to do the crossword. But then she talks about things like the process for getting your puzzle in the New York Times. She goes to the crossword puzzle championships. So it was a cute little read. I had a great time.
I've gotten a lot better at crossword puzzles because it's like you learn how to understand the clues.
Exactly.
Yeah. And once you're there, like that helps a lot. But I love crossword puzzles.
Yeah. So what about you? What are you reading?
Well, I am listening to an audiobook, Cultish, which is a pretty famous nonfiction book about like the language of cults. And it's really hitting home for me as someone, and I don't really want to get into it that much. I was involved in a very cultish Catholic group back in college, and that was like several years ago, but it's still something that like impacts my daily life, like particularly thinking about the language used there. So this is a really fascinating book for me. And I'm really, really enjoying it. I'm also excited because I do have the sections on fitness classes at the end. And as we know, I love Solid Core and Soul Cycle. So maybe it's still that part of me that like craves the cult community. I don't know. But I'm excited to get to that point.
And it's a really interesting book because it also talks about cults, like anything from like as innocuous as like boutique fitness.
Yeah.
And then as like literally cultish as like Jonestown.
Exactly. So it spans a wide gap and like it broadens the definition and like you see how cult language is used, like not just in what you think of as a cult, but it's like everywhere nowadays. So it's very interesting. I'm enjoying it. I like anything that helps contextualize that experience and that point in my life for myself because it helps me process things. So I'm really enjoying it.
Well, good.
And I think it's well researched. It's a very popular book. Like a lot of our listeners have probably read it or at least heard of it.
Yeah. But, I'm sure it helps them to know that it gets the 5 or flop stamp of approval.
It does, yeah. I think I'm only like, because Libby tells you like how far, I think I'm like 35%. So I still have a bit to go.
Okay.
But yeah, so far it has my approval.
Okay.
And, from, that insider perspective, it has my approval.
Fabulous. All right. Let's talk about the books for this week.
Oh, and on the topic of things we've been reading, I did just read all 3 of these rapid fire in the past 2 days.
So you're like super up on it.
I am hot off the presses.
Yeah. Well, when you go on vacation for like an extremely lengthy period of time, we really have to prep to record beforehand.
We do. And it's not even Well, it is like 10 days, so it is a lengthy amount of time. But at the same time, it's
the end of the season.
It's the end of the season. It's right after the holidays. You were sick back to back. So we're on a crunch time.
Yeah, we are overcoming the odds here.
Exactly.
To make sure the podcast gets out on time.
That's top priority, Everything else, sidebar.
Exactly. We would have taken days off work if we had to. So let's talk a little bit about the synopses, because there's an issue here. First of all, you don't even really need synopses for these books because they're all based on real people.
Yeah.
So real quick, it's Eleanor of Aquitaine. She's really famous. I don't need to tell you really who Eleanor of Aquitaine is. Jahanara, to contextualize, she is the daughter of Shah Jahan, who built the Taj Mahal.
Yes.
So that's probably how...
Which I didn't know. Like, I didn't put that together until the epilogue.
It's not even part of the book.
I know.
I mean, I guess because, like, obviously the Taj Mahal was not being built during the time of the book. But anyway, That's another issue that we will encounter.
And also because these girls, like, call their parents, like, the equivalent of mom or dad. It's not like they're saying their name.
Yeah,
so it's like...
and then Anacaona, who was one of the leaders of Saragua, which is on the island that is present-day Haiti and Dominican Republic in 1490, so at the time of Spanish contact.
I was going to say, so you can imagine what's coming there.
Yes. So, however, same thing as Dear America, on the back of the books, they do not have a synopsis. They have a sample diary entry, because they are written in the same exact format, in the diary format. And I was able to find a traditional synopsis for Anacaona, but not for the other two. I have found synopses that they cut off mid-sentence. And it's not just like, oh, it was a typo for uploading to Amazon, because they're like that on Amazon, Goodreads, and Storygraph.
Which is crazy.
And the Royal Diaries are not in print anymore. So it's not like I can go to like the Scholastic website, because they're not in print. So
Which I would not be shocked if these one day got a revival, like Dear America had a revival.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either, because I think they do a pretty decent job of having a lot of time periods and geographic regions.
Yeah,
and stuff
I think so.
But there weren't as many Royal Diaries as there were Dear Americas. So I think there's so much they could do even still with expanding the canon.
Oh, yeah.
But so I can go ahead and read what I have, and then we'll just do our best.
Sure.
So I do have a complete one for Anacaona, so I'll start there. With her signature narrative grace, Edwidge Danticat brings Haiti's beautiful Queen Anacaona to life. Queen Anacaona was the wife of one of her island's rulers, a composer of songs and poems, making her popular among her people. Haiti was relatively quiet until the Spanish conquistadors discovered the island and began to settle there in 1492. The Spaniards treated the natives very cruelly, and when the natives revolted, the Spanish governor of Haiti ordered the arrest of several native nobles, including Anacaona, who was eventually captured and executed to the horror of her people. So that synopsis is like not wrong, but it's also
not what the book's about.
It also doesn't really reflect what happens in the book.
The book is not about that part of her life, really.
Yes, and also they make it very clear in the book, the island, or even just like the part of the island that Anacaona ruled, was not called Haiti at the time. It was called Saragua.
Yeah.
So, and then the island itself, which Columbus called Hispaniola, they called Quisqueya.
Yeah.
So, lots of different names, and we'll try and do our best to keep them straight. Next, we have Eleanor of Aquitaine. 14-year-old Eleanor of Aquitaine lives in a castle in Poitiers, France, with her father, Count William of Aquitaine, son of William the Conqueror, and her 12-year-old sister, Petronilla. Their mother died several years earlier, so their grandmother and ladies-in-waiting raised the girls. Eleanor is extremely intelligent and literate, having been carefully educated by royal tutors. Spinning bores her, as does weaving, sewing, and other housewifery skills that are expected of her. She would rather be a knight and ride off to war. In fact, in 1136, when her father is invited to help invade Normandy...
What an insane cutoff!
And that's where it ends. So really, it's just about, like, Eleanor of Aquitaine in the period of her life leading up to her first marriage.
Yes.
So, there you go. And then same thing for Jahanara. In the 1600s, the Mughal emperors of India were among the greatest and most superb rulers of the East. Jahanara is the daughter of one of these powerful figures, Shah Jahan the Magnificent. A lover of refinement, his courts are the finest architecture, priceless paintings, unbelievable gardens, and ultra-fabulous wealth. Jahanara, the oldest and favorite of his children, is showered with emeralds and diamonds and rubies. She is attended by numerous servants and learned tutors, but her world is not one of complete... And then it ends.
It's like, it feels like they're trying to avoid spoilers.
I don't know.
But
it's
I don't
weird.
know what the point is.
Yeah, but basically then Jahanara is just about her life as a princess, and then there's some like background political struggles with the male members of her family, and then her kind of figuring out how she can wield her power even though the women are very cordoned off from the rest of male life. So that's that. And if we are wondering why I selected these books, Eleanor of Aquitaine was my childhood favorite. Mm-hmm. And then Jahanara and Anacaona I actually read for the first time as a grown-up.
Oh, okay.
And I thought they just have, we'll get to them later, but interesting things to bring up.
I think I've read Eleanor of Aquitaine before. It's not one of the ones that the ones I vividly remember are the three that I picked for next week, which we'll tell you at the end, and then the Catherine the Great one.
Yes. That one was good.
Those were the ones I vividly remember, and then I know I read some more of them that didn't really stick with me.
So, and then I only have two authors to talk about because Eleanor of Aquitaine was written by Christiana Gregory, who wrote Across the Wide and Lonesome Prairie. So we already learned about her. She's the one who is kind of taking back her publishing rights on her Amazon. Mm-hmm. So good for her. But we'll talk about the other two. So I already mentioned, you probably recognize this name. Anacaona was written by Edwidge Danticat, who is a really well-known author. She has written other children's books, but also of adult books and short stories. Mm-hmm. I think she was a really good get for Royal Diaries, to be honest, to write this book. She is from Haiti, and she has said she's lived in the U.S. for many years now, but her home will always be Haiti. Mm-hmm. And her mother is actually from a town that was within the center of what was formerly Zaragua, which was the land that Anacaona ruled. So she said that she has a very close relationship to Anacaona, which is very nice. But she was born in 1969 and came to America sometime during her high school years when her parents both immigrated here. And she graduated from both Barnard and Brown. Wow. She's very educated. We love that. And her writings often focus on themes of national identity and diaspora, which are, again,
reflected.
Really applicable here. And she has won the American Book Award and a MacArthur Genius Grant. So she is very, very accomplished.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, we have Catherine Lasky, who wrote Jahanara. She is one of the people that Royal Diaries and Dear America really relies on. She's written 5 of each. Mm-hmm. Her other one that she has written, she wrote one of next week's.
Yes.
So we'll talk about that then. But I thought she just kind of is one of the authors that does this. She has written over 100 children's books.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Her website is absolutely insane. So her best known books are the Guardians of Ga'Hoole series. It's warrior cats, but owls.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a movie.
I'm sure we've had some of our friends who have read that one.
Data scientist Ashley has.
Yeah. That was my guess.
Yeah. And then my only other thing that was of note was she has an FAQ on her website. And one of the questions, I guess, they're from kids, so some of the questions are kind of funny.
Yeah.
One of them was, do you make a lot of money as an author?
Yeah.
And apparently she is friends with Lois Lowry.
Oh.
Because she says, as my good friend Lois Lowry says, if you want to get rich, become an orthodontist.
Yes.
Which is solid advice from Catherine. Very funny. So I think we've already talked a little bit about our familiarity with Royal Diaries.
Yep.
So we can just jump right into our disclaimer.
Yeah. So our judgments come based on the book and characters within the books, rather than any real historical figures they may have been based on, which of course is the case here for every single character, essentially. So, keep that in mind. We're not judging them or their actions as people, even though some have questionable actions.
Yeah.
Not really. Well, maybe Eleanor, but not really our other main girl. So.
Not really. It's okay. Yeah.
Okay. Are we sticking to the order of, Anacaona first, the order you gave the synopses, and then just kind of feed in where applicable?
Let's talk real quick. I have a point that I want to make about Royal Diaries as a whole. And
okay,
I think
I do as well.
Yeah. So here is the thing that differs from Royal Diaries to Dear America. And it is an inherent problem with the idea of the Royal Diaries.
Yes.
So we're not just getting a book about Eleanor of Aquitaine. We're getting a book about Eleanor of Aquitaine when she was a young girl, when she was the age of the reader. And the thing is, that is before she has done anything interesting.
Yeah. The authors are very limited in terms of the history because they have to be, sticking to these people's actual lives. And then it's all before any of the characters did anything interesting, essentially. I would say maybe Cleopatra had a bit going on.
Yeah.
In her, when in her youth. But for most of these characters, and I mean, Anastasia, obviously, who was
all of the bad stuff happened to her when she was young.
for the majority of the royals featured in these books, it's nothing.
So, like, Eleanor of Aquitaine lived a very long time and did a lot of interesting things.
Yeah, she died when she was like 80-something.
Yeah.
Which for that time period, crazy.
The worst offender, which I'll bring up now because I don't believe we're reading it, is the one about Elizabeth I.
Uh-huh.
Because that one is so long for no reason. And Elizabeth I simply did so many interesting things when she was a grown-up.
Yeah.
So that is the thread that runs through all of these.
I always remember these, and I always felt more sophisticated reading them than Royal Diaries. But I always found myself being much more bored with them than Royal Diaries. And I don't think I could articulate why until now as an adult. And I'm like, oh, it's because
they haven't done anything yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the thing that I want to point out. I think that Eleanor of Aquitaine is the worst victim of that in terms of these three.
Oh my God, it was Catherine called Birdie reincarnated.
Yeah. Jahanara suffers from that a little bit because there is more political stuff happening kind of in the background. I think mostly Anacaona avoids this. We do encounter it a little bit, but I think that is a choice made by Edwidge Danticat that we can get into now.
Yeah, that is an intentional choice. So this book actually starts out with a very interesting author's note about how this real-life figure would not have kept a diary, where it is possible that some of these other royals did keep diaries.
Yes, and I actually really love this note, and I think it's done very well.
Mm-hmm.
So Anacaona came from the Taino culture, where they, passed things down orally. They did not have, like, a written language. Yeah. So she says, like, I want all of you to know that this is an interpretation of if she had kept a diary, what it might have been like, not what it would have literally been like. Yeah. She wants the children reading to know that. And she also says, I based it on the cycles of the moon, which is how they would have kept their time.
Which was really interesting. I will say that it made parts of the book come across as a bit like anthropological to me, as a bit like, we did this ritual and then we did this ritual. So it just felt a little bit more anthropological rather than, it didn't feel as genuinely like a diary to me.
Yes, you didn't get as many internal personal struggles, whereas like in Eleanor of Aquitaine, she writes about boys a lot.
And like Jahanara has a lot of like internal like personal struggles.
Yes. I kind of have the same thing with Eleanor of Aquitaine that you did with the Irish Mill Girl book, which I'm like, nostalgia. I understand that not that much happens. However, nostalgia, but also I feel like she had personality.
Oh, she did.
So it was okay with me to read it.
Funny.
All of them kind of had stuff that was happening in the background that I was like, wait a minute, I need more on that. Because Eleanor of Aquitaine's dad was crazy.
Yeah.
He was just constantly doing wild shit all of the time.
And you might get into this during historical accuracy. This book, did it take place during the Great Schism? I think the Great Schism was later with like the Catholic Church and the multiple popes.
I think it was later.
Okay. Because they talk about having an anti-pope, and I know there were several times in history where they're like the pope and the anti-pope. But I couldn't remember. I think the Great Schism was like 1300s.
Oh, no, it was oh no, wait, this isn't what I'm. You mean like from between the Catholic and the Orthodox Church?
No. Like when the Catholic Church had like 3 different popes.
Okay. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't think so.
I think it was like the third, but there are a couple times throughout like history that it's like they had the Pope and the anti-Pope and like they will fight it,
Yeah. So, but really the plots, I feel like the Eleanor of Aquitaine plot, even though all of them are in danger, like all 3 of them are in some level of danger at some point during their books, the Eleanor of Aquitaine one, you felt it the least. Like you felt the least there, like something was going to happen to her.
It felt like she took it the least seriously too.
Yeah. Yeah. Because basically what happens to her is by the end, she's under the protection of her dad. Her dad dies from getting food poisoning on pilgrimage.
He didn't cook his fish for long enough.
Yeah, which is like, bruh, cook the fish.
It's like the president who died from eating cold milk and cherries.
What?
One of the I think it was like Zachary Taylor or something. One of our presidents died from eating a combination of cold milk and cherries, and I remember we'd learned that in A-Push, and I was like, what the fuck?
One of the boring presidents.
Yeah. Well, he wasn't in office for very long because he died.
Yeah. But then at the end of the book, she marries the King of France, Louis, I don't know which.
Incredibly boring, but very hot. So she's like, okay.
Yeah. Well, she was like, I don't really like him very much, so that you can go seamlessly into the historical note at the end and have the author say, Eleanor divorced him and got a hotter, cooler husband.
Which I'm actually glad you said that, because this was another of those PDFs that were randomly missing like a couple of pages, and it was missing the page where it said they got divorced. So then I skipped the historical note to the next one, and it's like, she then married this guy. And I'm like, what happened?
No, he didn't die. She just divorced him.
Yeah.
And she got to keep all of her lands, so she got Aquitaine back,
Good.
which is good for her.
And then she became Queen of England.
Yes, because
or like married to the King of England.
Well, yeah. So she controlled England for a while. She had her favorite son was Richard the Lionheart, which is how she got England. So yeah, she lived a long life. Again, like, we're not getting a lot in the book.
No, the book wasn't that interesting.
Yeah. I liked it. It was not top tier.
She was like flirting with this knight the whole time, and then as soon as she found out she was getting engaged, she was like, bye.
Yeah. And even then, though, she was like, like, my knight is so, like, tough, and my husband is so, like, boring and lame.
This was the most, like, when you think, like, fairy tale princess, like, knights and all of that. This was that setting.
Yes.
Yeah, so much shit happened right at the end. And then the epilogue was, like, pretty wild. She was, like, imprisoned for, like, 16 years or something.
Yes. By one of her kids, I think.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, it was, I don't know. So I would love to read more about Eleanor of Aquitaine, but this is not the format that lends itself the best to her story.
No, I agree.
Also, I love how we were like, great, let's talk about Anacaona, and now we've just done our
skipped. Okay, we'll go back to Anacaona now, because I think it was an interesting format to tell this story in.
Yeah, and also, I think that Edward Shanticat did a good job, because the content of the story is really adult, and I don't just mean that because, like, obviously the Taino people were, like, completely exterminated, but also the content of the book, because it had to take place around 1492.
Yeah.
That meant that Anacaona was married and having a baby. And then also that her brother had like 20 wives.
Yeah.
That was like the funniest part, because he's real. It's a character. His name is Behekio. He was real. The fact that he was just like obsessed with accumulating all of these wives was wild.
It was crazy to see how she dealt with like having a baby.
Yeah. And she did it pretty well, I think.
Yeah, I think it translated very well. So this book, kind of what happens is kind of Anacaona is in her, community. She goes through the ritual of like womanhood, and then eventually she's married to a chief of like a neighboring region, who's like already allies with them, but they're allied more. And their biggest concern is like another local group.
Yes.
The Kalinas, I believe.
Yes, who come, and it's very much like a kidnapping the women.
Attacking.
Yeah.
But then they're like, oh my god, who are these pale people who just showed up?
And it's the Spanish.
Yes. And like, we know that as a reader right away.
Yes. I mean, obviously we're reading it through Anacaona's eyes, and she doesn't know them. Mm-hmm. But she makes it very clear that they're just there to hold people hostage and take gold.
Yeah. And that's like the only word they learn in her language is gold.
Yeah, otherwise they don't speak.
Yeah, and that's like what they were saying in the book. They're like, our only advantage now is that they don't know what we're saying.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that this is a really good choice, because the book ends on a good note.
Yes.
Like the plot of the story ends on a good note, where they have basically killed the like small group of Spanish conquistadors that have come, and then it ends before like another group can come in. The bigger group, yeah. Yes. So, and then I wrote down this quote because I feel like it's good. She's telling stories of their people to her daughter. Mm-hmm. And she says, I told such a lengthy tale because I did not want our battle with the pale men to become the only story our people would ever recite from now on. And that's obviously like, it's directly to the reader. Yeah. It's please remember the Taino people and not just the fact that they were exterminated by the Spanish.
Like there's so much more to cultures that are lost that way.
So which is why like most of the book is just about the Taino cultural practices. Mm-hmm. Like the Spanish come in at the end.
Yes.
And by the end, I mean maybe the last like 15%.
Which I do appreciate, but it also like it takes away from the narrator. It doesn't feel as authentic as like a diary to me as some of these do.
Yes.
Because of that. So it's a hard balance, and I think mostly it struck well. But I think there are definitely points that are just like more of like an anthropology textbook.
Yeah. So it's just, you're inherently going to struggle a little bit there.
Yeah.
With where to balance.
Question, is she our only royal with a kill count? Because she's like gone to battle and like she was fighting those white men.
I was just going to say, I swear we had someone else who killed someone.
In terms of like children's books, well, I mean, Codename Verity.
That might be it.
Yeah.
Because I remember last time we talked about Anetka having a body count, and then I feel like we followed that up with this other person also has a body count, but a different kind.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well, she has both kinds.
Well, I was going to say.
She got both kinds. No, but I thought that was interesting to include. And then after that ending, we go into the wildest epilogue.
Yes.
It's just like, devastating.
I mean, Anacaona, a lot of people haven't heard of her. I hadn't heard of her. Mm-hmm. But she like was executed by hanging when she was 29 by the Spanish. She like
her people were enslaved.
Not a good ending. So the book ends on a good point, but you do get the rest of the info in the historical,
which I think is important.
Well, yeah, you can't just lie to the kids.
And all of these, like most of the series, the epilogues turn very dark.
Yeah, and they fill you in on a lot of information. Yeah. Like the historical note in all of the other books is just kind of supplementary material on the content of the book. But you're getting like 90% of the story in the epilogue.
Yeah, of like the real life story, yeah.
In the case of the Royal Diaries, which is, you know, the inherent problem of them, that is they have to be kind of boring.
Yeah.
So, and then that leads us last to Jahanara.
Yes.
Which I think is kind of like 50-50 between like nothing happening and a lot happening.
I really liked this one. I think it was the most action-packed of them. Because I think it was a lot of her introspection and like, so one of her brothers had been like completely radicalized and like and her family had like a history of being very like religiously tolerant and like learning about different religions. And her one brother was just not like that after being kidnapped by their step-grandmother. Mm-hmm. And she was just very introspective. And and this is something I'll talk about in one of the books next week as well. She is like, not just like, I'm a princess, I'm into boys. She's like, how can I use my power when I'm like stuck behind this curtain? Mm-hmm. And she like looks to the relationships with other women in her life, like her dad's other wives, her mother. And I don't know, I just think she felt the most real as a character.
Yeah, I think on its surface, I thought like, oh, this is a book that doesn't have a lot going on. But there's more in there than you think. You just kind of have to look closer.
Absolutely.
Like, I had a problem. It's hard to juggle all the relationships because there are so many characters.
Yeah.
But you get at the beginning, like early in the book, the father is overthrowing the step-grandmother to like take his rightful place as the emperor, I guess. I think his title is Shah Jahan, but or his name is Shah. I don't know. I'm sorry. I hate to say it. I did so much research trying to like straighten out what was going on here.
Yeah.
And then you also get the sense Jahanara has these two brothers. One of them is going to, in the future, overthrow the other one. And then you're right. She is like, she never had formal power, but she wielded as much power as she could have.
Yeah.
Being a woman in this like society that kept men and women apart.
Absolutely. And I think, so this book covers a really long span. So there's a lot of, you know, she ages quite a bit in this book, I think. Yeah, maybe compared to some of the others.
2 or 3 years.
Some of them are shorter spans, some of them are longer. And this was one of the longer ones. And I do think this one you can clearest see the character mature. Mm-hmm. And especially like as a young woman, like as a, you know, preteen, it's kind of a period where you start to get like some more insight into beyond just yourself.
Yeah.
And I think you see that. I really liked the characters. I thought they were very interesting. I liked her relationships. I was crying at the end.
Well, in the last 10 pages, they go to war. Jahanara like randomly adopts like a baby from the street, and then her mother dies.
Yeah, her mother dies in childbirth. And it ends, it's like, and I wrote down quotes. Don't have them in front of me. But like this beautiful quote about her relationship with her mother, and like, in any universe, I would have wanted to be your daughter, even if we were beggars, like all. And it was so beautiful. And I just like, this book was really strong to me in the emotional sense and the introspection sense. Mm-hmm. And I think that added a lot because like the other characters or like the other real life figures, most of her interesting stuff was in adulthood. Mm-hmm. So I think that this showing her maturity of how she got there was a very great approach.
Yeah, this was a decent, I think, time for her book specifically because like Eleanor of Aquitaine, for example, when she was a grown woman, she took a lot of direct action.
Yes.
Jahanara was not ever really in that kind of position.
No.
So showing the political things happening around her and her reactions to them, that kind of is an accurate reflection of where she was as an adult.
Yes.
So you got a little bit more of that here. And I think that this is a pretty good time frame for her.
One part that made me laugh in this book is that she was like bedridden, and I think it was from a UTI. And I'm like, that would suck. Back in the day, you don't know you're supposed to drink cranberry juice.
And you don't have cranberries.
Exactly. Like, that would be miserable.
Yeah.
Like, that made me laugh a little. She recovered, so obviously it's fine.
Yeah. The part that made me laugh is that after that, when she was really sick, like, one of her servants was like, you know, I was praying for you and I'm very glad, like, princess, that you're better. And her reaction is basically like, why do you think about me? I don't think about you.
Yeah, it was very funny.
What do you mean, poor person?
Exactly. But I liked it. And then we go into another wild epilogue where, like, her brother, who, the radical one, like, killed her brother who was in line to take over. Like, she was, like, a political advisor, and then she was, like, ousted for a bit, and she, like, got really into art and poetry. And then she, like, came back as a political advisor.
Yeah. So, okay.
Girl boss.
Yeah. And then that's when we find out that her father is the one that built the Taj Mahal Hall in favor of, or in honor of the mother that
Which
died.
makes the ending have a lot more context, too, about how it ends on that note of, like, her loving her mother and being like, I would have been your daughter in any universe, like, all of that.
Yeah. Ooh. So
there's a lot going on.
Okay. So how would you rank them, these three?
Jahanara would be my top.
Mm-hmm.
Anacaona next.
Mm-hmm.
Eleanor last.
Okay. Mine is probably, honestly, in alphabetical order. So Anacaona is my favorite, then Eleanor of Aquitaine, then Jahanara.
Yeah. That's fair. I could see, I mean, Eleanor, since you have the nostalgia. That's the only one
but
that
this
I'm like,
definitely,
okay.
This is not a Dear America situation for me where we have, like, a 5, a fine, and a flop.
No, I think all of these, like...
They're probably all fine.
Yeah, all fine. I would say Jahanara was a 5 for me because I think it got that, you know, introspection from, like, a budding young woman's perspective incredibly well.
Mm-hmm. Well, here, let's do the historical accuracy and then we can hop to the calculator.
Absolutely.
So I have, like, kind of different things in each book that I want to touch on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not going to, like, check off, like, everything that happened and compare it to real life.
No,
I just have,
we don't have time for that.
No. So I was just going to say for Anacaona, really love the author's note at the beginning about why she would not have a really normal written diary. I appreciated that. And I also appreciated how many of the main characters in that book were real, even though it is not a society that we have a lot of notes, like written notes about. So obviously Anacaona was real, but so were her parents, her grandfather, her husband Kaunabo, and her brother Behekio, and also her daughter Higuamota.
And what was actually sad in the epilogue, they mentioned that, like, there's no record of what happened to the daughter, which is
we have no idea.
Really devastating when you think of the possibilities of what could have happened to her daughter.
Yes, and that's harsh. But then you also have a ton of side characters in the book that were complete creations. And Edwidge Danticat did this so that she could show Anacaona's connections in her community, and the strength of the Taino community. So I really enjoyed that, and I thought that was fabulous. Eleanor of Aquitaine, I feel like they have so much in there about her dad because there's no plot if there isn't.
Yeah.
But I really wanted more info about the dad because he was, like, excommunicated, and then he was unexcommunicated, and then he went on this pilgrimage and died. And then he was going to get married, and his wife got kidnapped and forcibly married to someone else.
Wait, we didn't even touch on that. That was the whiplash of that. And then she was like, low-key, I'm kind of glad about it because, like, I didn't want to be sent away to a nunnery. And I'm like,
Yeah. So, but then there was literally just, like, nothing you could do about it. So they're just like, oh, poor Emma's married to this guy who kidnapped her.
Like, that was crazy to me.
Yeah. So I was kind of like, you know what? I need a little more here. And actually, I was trying to look up some stuff about the dad, and it turns out that Eleanor of Aquitaine's mother, who was dead the whole book, was the daughter of Eleanor of Aquitaine's grandfather's mistress.
Okay.
So it's just, like, a weird, like, I don't know.
Okay.
Like, your son marries the daughter of your mistress. Like, I don't know. It's a weird relationship there. So I don't know. But yeah, I would love more info on him. And then, of course, like, if you want info about Eleanor of Aquitaine, like, you can read this book, but that's, like, not the first place you should go. So, and then Jahanara, all those stuff we just touched on. Her brother Aurangzeb overthrew her brother Dara to take the throne when he was an adult. Jahanara's father built the Taj Mahal in honor of her mother. And then there was her step-grandmother, whose name was Nur Jahan, who was doing all of the sneaky stuff to try and keep Jahanara's father from getting the throne. But here's the thing that I wanted to bring up. And I'm not sure how much of an impact this had on you because it was in the author's note. So I'm going to pull it up. I'm going to open it up and like read the section that made me to be like,
probably didn't read the author's note, if I'm going to be honest.
Yeah. Well, this is like a really weird place to stick this info at the very end.
Honestly, like I had closed out of the PDF before then, so I didn't know there was an author's note.
No, this threw me off so bad. So hold on, let me try and find it without.
I don't even think the PDF included the author's note.
Okay, here's the author's note. And like this is just a paragraph from the end of the author's note. Lasky, on one occasion, used what she called some poetic license. She says that she was truly astonished by the length that the court would go to completely isolate women through their practice of purdah and the screens of purity. That's true, like of keeping the women separate from the men. It was indeed recorded in various diaries that when a girl or woman became sick, a doctor could only examine the patient by inserting his hands through a curtain and never actually examining the sick person with his eyes. The author imagined that, if this were true, it would possibly be forbidden for a servant to ever touch a princess. For the purposes of the story, Catherine Lasky included the detail that it was prohibited for any servant to touch a royal person, except for the purposes of such things as henna decorating and dressing. There is, Catherine Lasky says, no historical evidence of this specific non-touching practice, quote, but I can easily imagine that it might have been.
It's such a small thing that, like, why would you make that up and include
That's the thing. It didn't add anything to the book. There were so few appearances of the servants, but there was, like, multiple mentions of, like, oh, yeah, they're not allowed to touch me because I'm royal. Like
why include it at that point?
And then why say in your author's note, yeah, I just made that up. So that completely threw me off because then I was like, well, then now I don't know if you're the right person to be telling the story.
Yeah.
Like, she went to India. She went to all of these places. Like, otherwise, I feel like the language, like, it was not exoticized. I feel like she was telling it to us in a way that seemed like she was just telling us what her day-to-day existence was like. But now I'm like, based on that quote, that really throws off the whole book for me.
Okay. Yeah, that's going to change my ranking. Star Calculator,
so then what I want to discuss then, because we have read many books where there is something much more central than that point that is not true and that we've been fine with that. But like, where's the line between like an artistic interpretation of something and just like making something up that's not true?
Like Distant Waves.
Yeah. Or like, you know, our very first book, Hamnet, where like Maggie O'Farrell does not make any secret of the fact that there was no Black Plague in that time. Or like she says, like, I'm using artistic license to make an emotional interpretation.
It bothers me when it's things that just are not important. Like, why are we changing things that are not important?
Yeah, like that completely could have been excised from the book and it would have made no difference. Because otherwise, I think this is a really great figure actually for a royal diary. Mm-hmm. But I'm just like, why then? Because the vibe that it gives to me is you were just like assigned to do this one because they know that you've done it before.
It's kind of like with the Irish Mill Girl, how it just felt like not as strong as it. Like it was just given to Barry
like he just wasn't in the mood to write it. Yeah. So I think clearly she put a lot of work into doing it because she was like, I went to India, like I had a great time researching like all of this stuff. But like why are you just making something up?
That's weird. Yeah, that bothers me. I will say the doctor stuff I think is interesting because actually Lisa C's book, Lady Tan's Circle of Women, that's a huge plot point, and why like Lady Tan goes into medicine is because like the doctors like can't see the women and it's just described to them. So
and there's even a point where Jahanara is like, this would be so much better if there could just be women doctors.
Exactly.
So and it's a good point, but it's just like you're not taking it to its correct logical conclusion, and it drives me crazy.
Okay, that's going to impact my historical, I think. Yeah. But let's get into our star calculators.
Let's.
So historical accuracy, theme, character, story, vibes.
Should we do each book at a time, or should I do 3 and then you do 3?
Let's do each book at a time.
Okay, so let's just go in alphabetical order.
Perfect.
And we'll start with Anacaona. Mm-hmm. So for me, historical accuracy 5, theme 5, characters 3, just because they weren't very fleshed out. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed how many of them there were, though. Story 5 and vibes 4, because you're right, it is a little bit like we did this, then we did this, then we did this. Yeah. However, I still really liked it, so that's a 4.4, and I gave it a 4.25 on StoryGraph.
Okay. Historical accuracy, I gave it a 4 just because it seems like there would be some gaps to naturally fill in because of lost history, and I don't think that's anything against the author. Theme, I gave a 5 because that message at the end I think is super, super important.
Mm-hmm.
Characters, I gave it a 4. I liked the characters that were there, and I liked the effort that went into how many they were.
Yes.
Both real and both invented. Story, I gave it a 3. You know, it was fine.
Yeah.
Story. Vibes, I gave it a 2 because I docked off for, you know, some of it just felt a little bit
Textbook. Mm-hmm.
So it's a 3.6, and I gave it a 3.75.
So we're both really close on that one.
Yeah, so I'd say for me, that's a fine.
Okay, me too.
Eleanor.
All right, for me, historical accuracy, it's a 4. What is there is right. It's just not like a lot there.
It's just not important.
Yeah.
What is there?
Theme, 3. There wasn't that much of a theme other than the idea of Eleanor really being in control of her fate, which I enjoyed at least. Characters, 4. I thought the characters in this one were actually pretty well fleshed out.
Eleanor made me laugh.
Yeah, Eleanor was really good. I liked her little sister. I liked her caretaker, which turned out was like her dad's mistress.
I didn't clock that either.
Me neither. It wasn't until the dad was dead and they were like, we're telling the baby all about his dad. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Story, 3, because it was just, you know, not too much of a story. And vibes, 4. This is a little bit where my nostalgia lens comes in.
That's fair.
So that's a 3.6. And I think I gave this a 4 on Storygraph. So that's a bit of a jump, but you know.
Yeah, that's fine. I gave it a 4 for historical accuracy, you know, same as you. Theme, I gave it a 2 because I'm like, I couldn't really pick up any theme there. Characters, a 4. I liked them. They made me laugh. I liked her sister. I like her relationship with her sister.
Mm-hmm.
Story, 3. You know, whatever. Vibes, a 3 just because I like this kind of like setting is nostalgic for me, like the fairy tale princess. So that's a 3.2 and I gave it a 3. That's a solid fine.
Okay. That's close. All right. And then for me, last one, Jahanara. Historical accuracy, I gave it a 3 because of that last part really just threw, I was like, I don't know how much of this I can trust, to be honest. Theme, 4. I actually do think this one had a pretty pronounced theme, which was nice. Characters, 4. The point off is me having a hard time keeping track of the relationships between all of them.
That's fair.
Like, especially at the beginning. Story, 4. And vibes, 3. Just because even though I feel like you're right when I get down to it, it has a lot of stuff happening. I can't shake the feeling that there's nothing happening.
That's fair.
So I don't know. That's also a 3.6, and I gave this a 3.75 on Storygraph.
Okay. Historical accuracy, I also went 3. I was definitely thrown off by what you shared in the historical accuracy section. Theme, I gave it a 4. Characters, I gave it a 5. I thought Jahanara was such a strong like narrator for the story that it really amplified everything for me, and her relationship with her mother, and like even just her like as a princess learning that her servant has feelings. Like that felt real. That did feel very real. It's kind of silly, but like
yeah.
Story, I gave it a 4 because you know there were some slower bits. Vibes, I give it a 5 mostly because that ending impacted me so much with her mother. So I give it a 4.2. I gave it a 4.75 on Storygraph.
That's
so
a lot.
It would have been a 5, but with what you share in historical accuracy, it brings it down to a fine leaning 5.
Yeah.
So
that's the thing. That's why we have the historical accuracy section, because stuff like that matters even if the writing is really knocked out of the park.
Yes.
You know, we got to take it into account.
All right. So next week we're headed to our season finale.
I can't believe it.
And these were my picks for Royal Diaries Part 2, and I picked the big hitters. I picked Cleopatra, Marie Antoinette, and Anastasia.
It's going to go crazy.
Yeah. So those are the ones, like, if you've read Royal Diaries, you've probably read one of those ones.
And also, with it being the season finale, we're going to have a serious discussion doing our rankings.
Jesus Christ.
Because, oh boy, like, even if you group together the series that are like, written by the same authors.
I don't even think we'll group, like, I see us doing the Dear America books separate.
I was going to say, Dear America and Royal Diaries, they're different authors. You have to do those separately. Like, you can only group Magic Treehouse and Josefina together.
Yeah.
So,
and both of those are going to fare very well in our ranking. But
to be frank, yeah. But yeah, it'll take
we'll figure it out
a long time.
But I'm excited to discuss part 2.
Me too.
Because these are like the more, you know, everyone who grew up in America knows who these are, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right. But in the meantime, make sure to follow us on social media, _pod.
And you can fill out the recommendation form in the bios of any of those social medias if there's anything else you think we should be reading. And for the second to last time, don't forget to participate in our Storygraph reading challenge.
If you're keeping up with us, you only have 3 books left.
You're
I don't
almost
expect
done.
anyone to be reading along with us because I think that for other seasons, I expect you all to be reading along. But for this one,
this is our least participated in Storygraph reading challenge. I can say that.
And I think that's fair because this is like a nostalgia listen for a lot of people. It's also like finding a copy of Jahanara was so hard.
Yeah, let's talk about how they don't have Jahanara at the library.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. So some of these can be very difficult to source, I would say, this season in particular.
So if your library has Jahanara, you can tell us about it by emailing us at fiveorfloppodcast@gmail.com.
Exactly. And until next time,
happy reading.
Bye.